The following report from the Commissioner of Meerut, the senior-most ICS official in the area, writing after a personal inspection of the site of the massacre. Baines describes some of the worst horrors: 3 women and 9 babies all dead in one well, a child of 3 or 4 with its face kicked in and then charred with fire, a woman beaten to death while in the act of producing a baby, girls of 12 or 13 raped, and then killed by thrusting spears up them and ripping them apart. 9:16 The description perhaps outdoes the Hindustan Times in its precision and its extravagance. It appears as an eyewitness account. What is notable, however, is that every part of this sentence, except for the clause relating to the number of bodies found in one well, depends on hearsay. Hearsay transformed into truth, the truth of the riot, and the truth about India in the last days of the Raj. Intimate relatives far removed from the scenes of the violence. Here is one providing details to his wife in England of what he described as the carnage indescribable in South Bihar in October to November 1946, little Mohammedan girls of 4 or 5 with their throats cut from ear to ear. One wretched Muslim woman. Ripped up, the knife being stuck in her vagina to start with. How shall we read this? 1 woman at a time would be stripped naked and marched as a captive in the midst of a crowd of 200 men or so to the Ganges, the crowd shouting slogans of triumph to the accompaniment of musical instruments. The procession would reach the bank of the river, the woman would be dipped into it and after this purification handed over to a Hindu as his chattel. After one woman had been disposed of, the ceremony of appropriating another would begin. 44 Practically every Muslim man, woman and child, in Garmukshwar, was murdered with appalling cruelty, the general further observed. Even pregnant women were ripped up, their unborn babies torn out and the infants' brains bashed out on walls and on the ground. There was rape, and women and children were seized by the legs by burly fiends and torn apart. 198. Here is rumor transformed into British awaiting a similar end at the hands of their devilish enemies. There was nowhere for them to go. All around were these same bloodthirsty enemies. They returned to await in the devil's good time their inevitable end, death at the hands of their enemies or the eternal slavery of a scheduled caste. 200. Another account, published in the issue of 12th of November, again on the front page, told the story of a respectable Muslim woman, the wife of a health officer who was on duty at the Garmukshwar Mela. Their camp was surrounded at about 2 p.m. on 7th of November, while the woman's husband was out and perhaps already killed. The subordinate Hindu officials and workers at the camp did nothing to help her, while the crowd burnt the hospital in the camp and then asked her to choose one of them as a husband. On her refusal, she was dragged from one camp to another and subjected to humiliation and indignities, the paper reported. 43 The Hindustan Times, November 21, 1946. Government reports spoke simply of the Rohtak and Gurgaon pilgrims getting away with a certain number of abducted Muslim girls. See, for example, Tukar Papers, 71/21/4/4, Commissioner, Meerut Division to Chief Secretary, Government of UP, November 16, 1946. 44 Ghazanfar Report, pages 16, 17 and 19. The report also observed that the police watched these proceedings from afar and did nothing to intervene until late on 8th of November, p. 18. 45 Dawn, November 10, 1946. Garmukshwar, November 1946 107 After some time, when they found her defiant they tore off her clothes and made her naked. She was throttled, had sand shoved in her mouth, was belabored with lathes and then thrown into the Ganges in the belief that she was dead. With one of her arms broken, the doctor's wife swam across the river, where a conscience-stricken constable gave her his coat to cover her shame. 46.